Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having an absolutely incredible day. As always, a nice way to support the channel is by leaving a like, by leaving comments and or subscribing. It helps out with the channel's algorithm very much. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. As always, the last 24 hours have once again been quite intense within the cryptocurrency space. The major news of the day, and there seemed to have been lightly conflicting responses to this, but it seems that we now have an actual answer. It says an investment firm with trillions of dollars worth of assets under management is registering an Ethereum trust in Delaware as the leading altcoin surged very quickly over 2,000 US dollars. According to a new filing, documents shared on Twitter show that BlackRock has registered their iShares Ethereum trust in the state of Delaware, a move similar to the one that the firm made when initially registering for their Bitcoin trust. So the initial news that was floating around that I spoke about on Twitter was that the news appeared to be similar to Grayscale's trust, as they have a GBTC, I believe it is, or something along those lines. They have a Grayscale Bitcoin trust where the company simply accumulates Bitcoin and then issues shares relative to it, as we also had news before that Grayscale is trying to get their trust turned into a fund. The initial news was that BlackRock was doing the exact same thing as Grayscale, in that essentially they would not have to go through the SEC as much to launch a trust, wherein BlackRock would simply hold and buy Ether and then issue shares against it. However, about an hour or two after, the news kind of solidified, and it appears that they have filed for a filing similar to the one that they did nearly exactly a week before. We, the public, got news that BlackRock was trying to launch a Bitcoin ETF. Everyone got it? I sincerely hope so. It says the iShares Ethereum Trust has just been registered in Delaware. For context, BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust was registered in a similar manner 7 days before they filed the ETF application with the SEC. Of course, speculation abound. It is logical that something will come of this. This isn't something that they decided to, just write paperwork for and then see if they wanted to do this. This is going to happen. The initial speculation actually caused Ethereum's price to rise. I think it was around $200 or something dollars. I think I looked at it. It was $2,214, and then began to slowly move back down as everyone was looking for more information as to exactly what was going on. So it looks like at this point we might have roughly around less than a week at this point to see exactly what's going to come of it. The optimism lies in the fact that people assume that BlackRock would not be wasting their time to try and launch a spot or a physical Ethereum ETF if they were going to not get it or if it was going to fail in some sort of way. The idea being speculation once again. As much of the market is doing, everyone's expecting a physical Bitcoin ETF literally any day now at this point. We had news, I believe it was yesterday. There's now a 7 or 8 day window that's open for the SEC to approve 12 different spot Bitcoin ETFs. If not then, the idea that we've heard from Bloomberg and Wall Street Journal and all these other places is the 10th of January being like the literal last day, that we will definitely have one before then. So we can only then, in a way, logically assume BlackRock would not go through all their paperwork to try and list this and also have an Ethereum ETF unless they knew that they were going to get their Bitcoin ETF, because what's the point of trying to get one if you know that you're going to lose both of them? The shared documents have been verified by senior Bloomberg ETF analyst Eric Balchunas, who is always in the news. He said BlackRock has made the first step towards filing a spot Ether ETF. I just confirmed on the website myself. Nice catch. So apparently, as always, people were scouring through the internet because that's just what people in crypto do. They look through every website and they look through all the information to see exactly what's going on. And lo and behold, someone randomly found this and it became one of the biggest news stories within the cryptocurrency space. BlackRock's spot Ethereum ETF plan is confirmed after their NASDAQ filing. Ethereum rockets past $2,100 as BlackRock files for their Ethereum ETF with the NASDAQ. BlackRock takes leap forward towards spot Ethereum ETF with SEC filing. BlackRock files for spot ETF as Ethereum surges past $2,100, and there's a photo of a guy holding an Ethereum shield sitting in a chair wearing a suit smiling. I wish I could make sense of anything in that photo. A lot of the interesting part, and we're going to get into that very, very soon as well, is a lot to do with prices. Something happened with the prices that was very, very reminiscent of 2015, 16, 17, and 2018, where Ethereum basically shot up in price and nearly every other altcoin actually began to fall and drop and collapse at the exact same time, which is something that we normally do not see anymore. Because if a coin is doing well or not doing well, we tend to see a lot of that money flow into Tether. We normally don't see the magnet effect anymore. So years ago, before we even had Tether, if altcoins were doing bad, Bitcoin was doing exceptional. Bitcoin was rocketing because there was no other place for that money to move except for Bitcoin. So we actually saw people selling off their altcoins and pushing all that money into Ether. At least this is what it seemed like, as nearly every other altcoin had flown into red at the exact same time. So the major news is sometime next week, this time next week, we will have probably proper information that BlackRock is filing for a spot Ethereum ETF. Let's be realistic. We're probably also going to hear from about 11 other companies today who are going to be doing the exact same thing as they previously did before when BlackRock filed for their Bitcoin ETF, and everyone flew right behind them to do the exact same. That's the, BlackRock is filing for an Ethereum ETF news. Let's see what happens. Let's move on. Tying nearly directly, for some reason this is like ETF week, nearly directly into this. Swiss financial services company UBS Group AG will now be allowing wealthy institutional clients in Hong Kong to access 3 crypto exchange traded funds, joining its rival HSBC Holdings. So the entire thing surrounding Hong Kong, for those of you who don't know, is speculated to be that it is kind of like a light, LITE, way to allow people in China to have access to the cryptocurrency market once again. It is widely speculated that part of the reason why Hong Kong was chosen as the place, or why they had regulation in 6 months, immediately, was that it would allow people up north to essentially have access to their markets in a very regulated way. And that if it does work out, that we could potentially see in the future people in China once again having proper access to the cryptocurrency market, but in a very, very controlled kind of securitized ETF, bond, what have you, kind of way. We keep hearing and have been hearing for a while about the number of banks who are actively within the cryptocurrency space. HSBC mentioned, I think a year or two ago, they were one of the first banks that no one paid attention to, who said that they would be getting into the cryptocurrency space. A lot of them have announced that they wanted to create ETFs or funds or trusts, or that they wanted to create their own cryptocurrency exchanges. The cryptocurrency exchange part, we don't hear as often anymore that we used to. Years ago, everyone wanted to create a cryptocurrency exchange. The issue is that many of the banks actually did, and no one used them. And I mean, like, not in a joking manner, but they had no interest because, as I've said before, we already have over a dozen well-known crypto exchanges around the world. Like, no one needs 74 to be able to choose from. What we have suffices, at least at the moment. So now it's been announced that in an effort to kind of expand offerings to people within Hong Kong, a number of banks are also going to be allowing people, or have been allowed, to offer ETFs to exclusively wealthy people. This always happens this way, one, because rich people look after each other and they want to make sure that they have access to all the funds and everything else before normal people do. And two, the idea is that we, me, you, us, are simply too dumb to understand these markets. And therefore, they need like proper institutional money to flow through the market before we, the retail investors, are allowed to actually put our money into it. We've seen this across the board multiple times. And this is what Gemini and Coinbase tried to do back in 2018 and 2019. They tried to just focus on institutions and wealthy people. That didn't work out. So now they're trying, to have this whole thing, hey, aren't you on our side, normal people, over and over again. And it just gets extremely cringy. According to Bloomberg, citing anonymous sources, UBS Group's Hong Kong clients can trade Samsung Bitcoin futures active, CSOP Bitcoin futures, and CSOP Ether futures ETFs. Those are authorized by the Securities and Futures Commission, SFC, starting on the 10th of November. There's been a lot of news. A lot. There's so much ETF news. There's so much like fund news. There's so much money movement news. There's been a lot of news about the actual interest in these markets once again by institutions and how much money is flowing through them and exactly how much interest is being renewed back in the market and exactly where these funds could go. There was also some Grayscale news. I don't have it here. I think their, not their margins. Their discount that they had on their fund, I think, is also slowly dissipating as more people continue to throw money back into the market. We've definitely, and I mean just simply mathematically, we are actively now in the bull run bull market. We will not see hyper crazy insane attention to our market until we have an over $50,000 Bitcoin, until we have an ETF and or multiple ETFs, or until the halving has actually taken place. A lot of times in the crypto market, we, us, me, you, will look at prices and go, okay, just go higher. Bitcoin has already doubled in price this year. And this is something that we tend to forget quite quickly, not realizing exactly how far we've come in the last 2 years and since the beginning of this year. It is very rare for any asset to double in price over the course of a 10.5 month or so period. Hong Kong's largest financial institution, HSBC, became the first bank to allow their customers in the special administrative region of China to trade the 3 crypto ETFs in response to growing demand. This is also quite popular news as far as Hong Kong is constantly making sure that they're kind of like the leaders in this space. They almost waste no time when it comes to allowing things or regulating things. There isn't we'll do it in 2027. They get it done immediately, very, very quick. And I think this is going to cause them, Hong Kong in particular, to be a major market mover as prices continue to rise, because the amount of news that we keep getting from there is just always absolutely off the charts. Very popular news. It says UBS offers crypto ETFs to wealthy clients in Hong Kong, and that is starting today. Also, in the very, 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 very popular news today, this was even retweeted by Changpeng Cao on Twitter, which I found a little interesting. For those of you not looking at the screen, it says the CME has overtaken Binance to hold the largest share in Bitcoin futures. One, the CME is the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. I believe they're based in Chicago, as it's called Chicago Mercantile Exchange. They were one of the major players, or tried to be a major player, back in 2018, 2019, as the first institutions who began to roll into the space. The first ones that we heard about were the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange. The New York Stock Exchange also controls ICE, the Intercontinental Exchange, which also then created BACT, BAKKT. And the idea of BACT was the New York Stock Exchange was going to have its own cryptocurrency exchange. They were going to be a custody solution. They were going to be all these different things. BACT also partnered with a number of high profile stores and things like that to try and get people to use Bitcoin. It was all too early. Way too early. As I've said thousands of times, I think no one is ready to be that person who sells off their crypto, or in this case, Bitcoin, too early. And then we see sometime in the future that Bitcoin's 280,000 and you're like, oh crap, I sold it at 35,000. I sold it at 70,000. Like, no one wants to really be that person. So the idea of buying things in Bitcoin, this is why we keep sometimes seeing news of companies who are like, hey, you can buy stuff in Bitcoin, but it never really goes any further like that. So the payment rails are there, but no one's willing to give up their Bitcoin. So BACT kind of faded into obscurity. They also had Bitcoin futures at one point. One of the biggest jokes was there was sometime in June, I forgot which year it was. They actually had a month where they had 0% trading volume. Like, no one was using it. The next addition to the space was the CME and the CBOE, both companies who deal in stocks, who deal in futures, who deal in securities and things like that, who announced that they were going to be getting into the cryptocurrency space. The CBOE, for some reason, after a couple of months, fell into relative obscurity. The CME, in what I believe was something coordinated. This is around the time in 2018, 2019, which was very frustrating, not only because of prices, but also because of the birth of Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Cash, Satoshi's vision, which caused Bitcoin's price to fall by 50% in one day. Very annoying time to be in the market. But this was also when we were told as a market that Bitcoin futures kind of, should dictate the price of our assets. So for those of you who don't get that, the Bitcoin futures that are currently in the United States and also other places are denominated in fiat currencies. They are not holding Bitcoin. They do not have a fund for Bitcoin. It is simply, here's Bitcoin's price, deal with it in US dollars as if you were trading back and forth a stock quite rapidly. And around that time, every Friday, as the options would expire, as the Bitcoin futures would come to term, we would hear in the cryptocurrency space, Bitcoin's at 12,000. However, the futures are showing a price of 9,000. When Friday would end, for some reason, Bitcoin's price would begin to collapse towards $9,000 because we were constantly told that we had to fill the gap. I called shenanigans, excuse my language. I said the letters B and S quite loud because I was like, that makes absolutely no sense. Why would Bitcoin have to match the Bitcoin futures? Over the course of this year, the amount of interest in Bitcoin futures has risen quite significantly, mainly because institutions who, for whatever reason they have in their heart, don't directly want to deal in buying Bitcoin, have this, this fervor and this energy. This is where the idea of Bitcoin futures, the Bitcoin ETF comes from. For institutions who don't want to go onto Coinbase and buy it themselves, they want to be able to have a fund where they can deal in Bitcoin's price and own shares of Bitcoin that another company is owning, to therefore say that they have exposure to Bitcoin, but not direct exposure, whatever 1955 thing that they're trying to do, as opposed to entering the future. Bitcoin futures rising in popularity once again as Bitcoin has doubled in price since the beginning of this year. The reason why this is popular news, and I read through multiple articles and I was like, really? Like that's the reason behind it, and why this was celebrated and why Changpeng Zhao also retweeted it. Binance popped up out of nowhere. Binance came about in 2017. People didn't really pay attention to it. It's a brand new cryptocurrency exchange, but they became popular because they were the only crypto exchange who kind of added every coin. Coinbase had a thing where they were only Bitcoin centric, and then it became Ethereum, then they added Litecoin, and then that was basically going to be it. They were being sued by a number of people for not adding Bitcoin Cash. They decided to add Bitcoin Cash. January 2018, they announced they were adding a whole bunch of new ERC20 tokens. Same exact thing happened with a bunch of other crypto exchanges. They maybe had around 12 coins. Binance came out and was like, we have 500 coins in our platform. So, of course, they got popular. Everything that Binance began to add to their platform remained popular. What's the other thing? Margin trading as well was also really big until they had to scale it back because people were doing 50 to 100x margin trading. The next day they were losing all their money and then blaming Binance as opposed to being like, you shouldn't have been margin trading at all. But Binance also has Bitcoin futures. And this is the interesting part, is that they were actually siphoning off interest from the CBOE, from the CME, from Bakkt, from the New York Stock Exchange, and from other places around the world who had Bitcoin futures. People were choosing to use Binance. The issue lies in the fact that Binance is Binance, and we keep hearing from institutions, or rather from governments around the world and regulators who don't regulate, that, Binance is Binance. It's this entity that kind of popped up that really isn't regulated, but is regulated. Governments want all the money for themselves. So, of course, the idea of a cryptocurrency exchange having the volume that they want in the market is going to be evil in some sort of way. It would be the same exact thing if it was Gemini or if it was Coinbase, but in this instance, it is Binance. As we've seen over the course of this year, the amount of interest in Bitcoin futures has actually swayed a tiny bit back to the big banks and back to the CME. It's touted as positive news because this shows that there's actual institutional interest once again in government regulated run kind of exchanges. I know it's all very convoluted. And logically, it really makes no sense. But the idea is that the SEC might see this positively, in that if the money is flowing out from Binance and back onto a regulated exchange that the SEC regulates, therefore, this might mean that more sophisticated institutional investors are getting into the space and are more willing to use regulated lanes of money as opposed to Binance. I had to explain all of it because this was basically what the news was. It's the idea that the CME has now overtaken Binance, and therefore it's showing that institutions are not only getting back into the space, but they're more willing to do something on a regulated platform as opposed to Binance, which could be anywhere in the world. And very popular news. I don't know if anything will come from this. I don't know if Gary Gensler is stroking his hairless cat inside of a castle at the top of a hill with the lights off, being like, okay, now we can approve a Bitcoin ETF because Binance isn't the most used exchange on the planet. I can't really tell you, but this was incredibly popular news because of this idea or this metric that Binance is no longer top dog. And I told you as well, Changpeng Zhao also retweeted this and kind of left like a nice caption about it. And I was like, okay, this is a little weird for me. That's the CME Bitcoin futures is now bigger than Binance news. Sure, why not? The amount of popularity around what an ETF approval is going to do is also extremely large. A lot of larger industry players have begun to throw their arm into the ring, or whatever people do, to talk about not only where prices are going to go, but also, just the absolute logical situation of what's going to happen to prices. I was having brunch with a couple of friends yesterday. Hello, friends. And it's almost impossible. I can't be the only one. Every time I meet up with these friends, all we do is talk about money. And we actually we tried to just meet up and talk about other things. And then before you knew it, we were talking about ETFs. We were talking about property. We were talking about stocks. We were talking about like taxation. We were talking about all these different things. And it's nearly impossible to kind of get away from it, like of what the idea of what this market is going to be and how high we could go. We've been getting all these crazy price predictions as to if we do get a Bitcoin ETF. This also became really big news for us as well yesterday, as we were discussing the idea of if we do get a Bitcoin ETF approval relatively soon, Bitcoin is probably going to go above $50,000, $55,000 just based off of logic. The really crazy thing is that we normally don't see this kind of movement in prices that we're currently experiencing until after the halving has happened. Like usually the month leading up to the halving, we begin to move up in price in anticipation of the block reward getting cut in half. The halving happens. We have that 1 or 2 day period where people try and sell the news thinking that they're being intelligent. The price rapidly ends up going up. And then over the course of the next 2 years or so, prices go completely insane. We normally don't see it this early in like a cycle run. This is why I was saying that we are clearly now already in the bull run. This is why the news on the screen. Ripple's CEO has said an ETF approval could unleash a flood of capital into the cryptocurrency market. I think that's just completely logical, not knocking Garlinghouse, but it's like, I can't even think of anything. It's just so completely obvious. Of course, that's what's going to happen. We had news before, I believe, from some Bloomberg or Forbes analysts a couple of weeks ago who said that they're expecting around $15 trillion to move into our market. That is 15 and then trillion with a T to move into our market upon the approval of a Bitcoin ETF or ETFs. Which then gets us to those, fantabulous numbers as to where prices could actually go. This was very big. I think it's maybe because typically people from Ripple tend to not talk exclusively about Bitcoin or things that could happen with Bitcoin. They're usually like kind of XRP and or Ripple focused. We had something like this a day or two ago as well. I think that XRP lawyer was also talking about a Bitcoin ETF. So maybe it's big because they're like, shaking hands with Bitcoin now. I'm literally not sure at all. The price predictions continue to roll in. It says, will Bitcoin's price hit $175,000 during the next bull cycle? Experts weigh in. No one really has to weigh in at all. Like step off the scale. Like it's not even... Like we are probably going to hit these numbers. I know that a lot of people, it's probably your first go in the market. This may be your first bull run. Get ready because it's gonna shock you. But a lot of people got into the market around mid 2021. They experienced prices going up a bit and then prices went back down. So they're kind of in this weird, I have a couple of friends as well who are in this weird gray area as far as like they don't know what to expect from the market and it actually moving back up. 175 is entirely believable, as is a $200,000 Bitcoin. Where it gets a bit shaky is the $400,000 Bitcoin, but there's also tons of news. Maybe I even have it inside here. As far as like the actual scarcity of Bitcoin, a lot of people aren't paying attention to it as much as I would like them to. We go over it here a lot of times on the channel as far as like how high prices are going or where they could potentially be and how much Bitcoin isn't actually on the market anymore. And I think that's a common metric that isn't discussed. I think rich people know about it, how few there actually is left for them to accumulate. But for everyone else, it's kind of like people just throwing darts on the wall, trying to see if they can hit a number. And if that number sounds realistic, well, yeah, Bitcoin can go to that price. And it's like, no, nearly all of it is actually being held by people who have no intention of selling anytime soon. XRP surged 60. That's insane. XRP surged 60,000% to $3.84 in speculation. What might occur now with real utility? A constant conversation that's popping up all the time as well. We were talking about this about a couple of weeks ago, and if not, or a month ago. A lot of people are trying to figure out, since the portions of the lawsuits have ended, and also, the final shebang is expected in the next couple of weeks and or months as far as the end of the lawsuit. I think we're just waiting for I forgot what it's called, like a wrap up, basically, an ending to the entire thing. The numbers are getting, I think, a bit intense as to what a 60,000% increase could represent for XRP during this run. We've gotten a couple of $180, $200, $250 XRP kind of things. I say this in a very realistic way. It's usually okay to kind of price in like a 3 to 4x from the previous all-time high. That is to say, a $10 XRP or a $12, $13 XRP seems entirely believable. But I think a lot of people get wrapped up. This is similar. This is very similar. It's not even deja vu. It's like vuja day or something like that. Where years ago, a lot of people used to get into altcoins because they believed that it could have the same price movements as Bitcoin. That is to say, if you heard on the news or you heard somewhere else that Bitcoin at that point had risen by 500,000%, a lot of people in the beginning, and even now, were buying Dogecoin and Litecoin and these other coins because they expected during a bull run that they would have the same multiplication as Bitcoin. That is to say, I'm going to buy 500 Dogecoin because I can't buy 500 Bitcoin. Bitcoin went from $1 to $10,000. Therefore, if I buy this many Dogecoin, it has the same exact possibility of reaching $3,000. You understand? Like, people kind of did that same exact metric. And it's a very dangerous thing to do. As far as like, well, look at what it did before, 60,000%. A 400% increase is also something that you would be hard pressed to get in any other market. The odds of you buying real estate and in a year it going up by 400%, you buying gold is literally not going to happen. Or you buying any type of stock, 400% is very rare, like literally incredibly rare. So I think it's better to have more realistic XRP price predictions. I do at some point foresee a $20 to $25, but it's more of we need more. We need more people in the market. We need more energy. And I think even more news to kind of catalyze something like that. And I say this to finalize this thought. If we do at some point see a 60,000% increase in XRP from this previous all-time high to a $200-300 XRP, I promise you I will make a video and I will apologize. I will tell you directly I was wrong. I don't know how to count, and therefore, I hope all of you are happy on your new yachts. But yeah, that's also part of it as well. A lot of price news revolved around what happened with a lot of altcoins. As I told you, Ethereum rose quite rapidly in price and other coins did not. I think people have gotten used to trying to find a meme coin to latch onto. And I think it's a bit dangerous in that nearly the last 3 cycles or so, meme coins popped up out of nowhere, Dogecoin being the first one. But people, for some reason, believe that these joke coins are actual investments. Now, in many cases, I will say this, we have seen before in the past that regardless of what a coin is, they tend to do well if Bitcoin and Ethereum are also skyrocketing. Everyone kind of just betting on anything, throwing their money into any coin, and they do well. We are reaching a period within the cryptocurrency space where you have to become a little bit more realistic and understand that there is I don't see I don't know the future. There's a near 0% chance that you are going to be walking into a store and like, hey, I want to pay in Pepe. Do you guys take Floki Inu? It's just not really going to be a thing. So a lot of meme coins in the last couple of months haven't been doing as well as other altcoins. And I keep seeing articles talking about, well, maybe Pepe will pop back up. And I'm like, you can't keep throwing your hard-earned money into these projects assuming that a meme coin is going to make you rich or going to make you whatever. And the problem is that we do end up, you've seen them. You see these articles, they tend to pop up during bull runs, like when we're in the midst of a heavy bull run. This trader put in $300 into this coin. He just bought a 15-room mansion or something like that. This news is always heavily skewed. This person usually had some affiliation with the project. He bought some coins pre-market or like the second the coin came out, before it was even announced. Him and his friends knew because they're friends with the people who made the coin. They bought the coin when it had absolutely no value. As the price was pumping because you were buying into it, they sold off, made it into the news, and this is what causes a lot of the frenzy. So yes, meme coins are losing momentum because, as I've mentioned many times before, the coins in the news tend to be the actual ones that I believe are going to be the winners. There's a reason why it's consistently Bitcoin, XRP, or Ethereum. Over and over and over and over. Like they are the coins that have like the partnerships. Of course, there are other partnerships, but you can't really compare. We're partnered with 6 different companies to issue NFTs to we are working with 30 central banks, or we have 700 companies who are using us. It's a gigantic difference. So, if you have the time to look more for like actual value as opposed to like hype trains and all these other kinds of things that are going on. Also, incredibly unpopular, I don't know exactly where to place this. Following its bankruptcy, FTX's new management apparently is making every effort to revive and reopen FTX. We had speculation about this, I believe, towards the end of September, and I ranted and did not want to in a video where I basically told everyone, like, red flag. And I say it for no other reason than you right now currently exist in the cryptocurrency space without using FTX. Like, look at you right now. Look at where your coins are. Look at what you have, etc. You do not need to join FTX, and the idea of them trying to revive FTX is incredibly slimy. There was this gigantic campaign against the 3 letters FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried and Alameda and everyone else who was tied to it as like the worst, most toxic things on the planet. And now that some other rich person has purchased FTX, a lot of the news now floating around is that FTX is like a phoenix from the ashes. It's going to bring back a new level of prosperity. If FTX is going to, and it's like, so just understand that. The crypto exchanges you are currently using suffice. They are enough. You do not have to use this crypto exchange again, because over the course of the cryptocurrency space's history, what ends up happening is that many people try to, rejoin these exchanges. They don't do too well and something bad ends up happening. Not to say that something will happen with FTX 2.0, but it seems completely pointless. Recent reports indicate that Tom Farley, the former president of the New York Stock Exchange, is interested in acquiring FTX and in reopening it. The issue is, and this is the worst part, is that apparently Gary Gensler has come forward and said that he sees no problem with FTX being reopened as long as they do it in a regulated manner. And it's like, the issue is that the normal FTX was around for a number of years. And as far as we know, the news goes, FTX, Binance, Kraken, Coinbase, other names were looking for regulation for a number of years, and Gary Gensler chose not to do so. So for Gary Gensler to be like, oh, this thing that I, in essence, helped to shut down because I gave them no regulation and did not protect American consumers, can totally reopen all over again. Now, if they reopen, will only will only FTX get the regulation that every other crypto exchange has been asking for? Or is it just going to be like something for everyone? You get what I'm saying? You can't say that you're okay with this reopening and being like, oh yeah, as long as they have laws, you're supposed to give the laws and you don't give the laws. Are you only going to give the laws to this one crypto exchange and everyone else is kind of left in the mud? Very, I don't want to say popular, very all over the place news. Gary Gensler is very weird, as is the SEC. I did not think that they would have so much power as they have, to not only be in the news, but also be such a prominent thing within the cryptocurrency space. It's extremely gross, all of it, what they do, especially not helping people as they are supposed to be doing so. But yeah, it looks like FTX is already given the green light to reopen. We are probably going to hear about this. I give it February. I give it a good February. They're probably timing it with the beginning of what would normally be the energy for the Bitcoin halving. And this will actually garner a lot of attention. People will once again use them because the FTT token that is associated with FTX actually collapsed completely, around like 99 something percent during the course of the last year or so. And upon the news that Gary Gensler was like, yeah, you guys can reopen, I think the coin shot up by 70-80% over the course of a day. So, you know, similar to BitConnect's token as well. So, you know, history just keeps rhyming and people will continue to throw their money at garbage as long as they think that it can lightly benefit them. That's the FTX might be reopening soon news. And yeah, let's move on. Right. At the moment, Bitcoin is down by 0.5%. Ethereum is up by 9.5%. It is at $2,101. It is down a $99 or so from the 2,200 that it hit. If you look at the screen, or if you're not looking at the screen, altcoins definitely took a hit as it happened. You can see this like canyon right here that they all simply fell into, while Ethereum did the exact opposite. It is very fascinating that people chose to sell off their other coins to push them into Ether at that exact moment. It looks like Bitcoin is trying to lightly move back up. We'll see what the rest of the day ends up giving us. But some of the altcoins, you can see they're trying to move up once again in price. XRP is down by 6%. Solana is up by 5%. Cardano is up by 1%. Dogecoin is down by 2%. Ton is down by 4% as well. Matic is up by 2%. Litecoin's down by 2%. Shiba Inu is down by 3%. Anything like crazy in either direction? Cosmos is up by 3.4%. Ethereum Classic is up by 13% off of the news that other Ethereum is getting an ETF. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but this is very similar to the price movements that we see with Stellar Lumens. Whenever XRP gets positive news, Stellar Lumens tries to desperately follow behind it and catch up to its price, even though no one is using Lumen. So Ethereum Classic got a nice price bump from Ethereum. Lido DAO token is up by 20%. Sure, why not? Any type of DAO or decentralized token. I don't believe that they're actually decentralized because history has shown us completely otherwise. Kronos is up by 3.6. Internet Computer is down by 5.9. Arbitrum is up by 5. Aave is down by 7. Okay, whatever, that other really weird coin. Immutable X is up by 11.7. I didn't see any Immutable news. They're also in the top 50 coins now as well. I know a lot of different chains use Immutable. I'm pretty sure Vivi also puts their NFTs on Immutable as well. But there was no Immutable news, so there must be something behind the background, some kind of update or upgrade that's going to be taking place. Very interesting week so far. This week flew by. This week flew by. This week completely flew by. It's Friday. I remember on my Monday video being like, I think it's going to be a good week. How is it Friday? Anyway, that's crazy. I do sincerely hope that you have all enjoyed I do hope that you all are having a great day. Morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be, I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and or supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.